All right, so we're going to cover task plans today, and I want to be a little specific and actually help you guys create a working task plan that you're going to use going forward. So we're going to all do, step one together. So whether you're writing this down or logging in, I want it to be something that you are able to go back to later and remember how you did it. Okay.
So before you get started, are you sharing your screen, or should we just follow along in our own booj?
No, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
And so you'll see that, but you can follow along in your own or write these steps down. But we're going to actually create a working task plan. Okay.
Okay. So if I want to follow along in my own, do I just make you smaller up in the corner and then open up my own?
Yes, you'll be able to hear me still.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me share my screen and get my sign on into Remax Center here. All right. I'm signing into Mac Center. Sorry, 1 second here. All right, let's get signed on here, and we're immediately going to think about, what do we want to focus on as far as task, and I'm going to go ahead with a listing. Okay. I mean, I think we all have an idea what to do with our leads that come in. You get a new buyer, you kind of start jumping in and going through the get them pre-approved, find out what kind of houses they want to see. So I want to put that all aside for right now and really focus on like a listing task plan. Okay. And I'm not going to I'll show you or introduce you to the ones they have in the system already, but a lot of people want to be able to create their own task plans because it's something they've been using in their business already. So let's sign into booj here.
So while you're signing in, I'll just tell you, I still cannot get texts back and forth. However, I can get texts that say $1 million. Do I have your attention now? My name is blah, blah, blah. $1 million class action settlement. So I can get, but I can't get them from my clients.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So going into here, I'm going to go into system settings because I want to show you where, and it's really not Amy, it's really is me, but you want to click on your little profile picture over here and you're going to click on systems pages and you want to go onto task. So this is where they've already got the templates created for you. And you can create copies of those or you can create your own. So we're going to create our own right now. So we're going to go ahead and hit add task plan. So again, I went into my profile settings, I went on settings pages and I clicked on task at the very bottom. And I'm going to create Lee's listing task plan or Laura's or however we're going to call it. But this is so it's individualized and I created it. And it's going to go with a deal on the listing side. Because again, if it's a listing, we've already got a deal. And now I'm going to click on build task plan. As you can see, it has, it wants stages from the prospect, from the active to the pending to the closed. So this is saying when you have a listing, what task are you going to do in each one of these phrases or phases? Okay. In the prospect phase, which is like the seller's getting ready. Okay. That's what the prospect is. It's pre-listing. Okay. So on the task, what would we do first in a pre-listing appointment? Would we meet with the seller and go over like the staging and any repairs they should have before listing, correct? So we're going to say listing prep is what I want to call this. Listing prep with seller.
Did you mean to share your screen?
Oh, have I not?
All I see is your lovely face.
Aww.
Which is good. But
I see this, your screen.
Hang on. Maybe it's because I've minimized you. There, I see your screen.
Okay.
And there
and
we
me.
go.
All
Yeah.
right. So I titled it listing prep with seller, and I'm going to make this a high priority. And it is in the prospect stage. And I'm going to give myself, days until due. I'm going to give myself 2 days to be sure that's done. So I'm going to put the number 2 in there. And under the description, I'm going to put in here, meet with seller, plan, pre-list repairs and staging. And that could be broad, but very specific as well. I mean, if they have, maybe some gutters that are loose, that would be a repair that you want them to make before you list the house. As far as some pre-listing staging, we want to tell sellers to depersonalize it, okay? We don't necessarily need them to move everything out of their house, but they need to depersonalize it so the buyers can come in and see past that, okay? So those would be the top two things, any pre-listing repairs and staging. And like I said, staging, I mean to be like depersonalizing, okay? We're not going to refurnish their whole house, all right? So then I'm going to add that task, okay? And what would be another pre-listing that you would do? We're going to say create another task, and I'm going to say market portal. And the reason I say that is because you want to be able to set your seller up in the MLS on a portal so that they are notified of new listings that come up in their neighborhood. You don't want to get that phone call that they saw a sign on the way home from work. You want to get the MLS update that it's already been posted, okay? So this is marketing portal. And it's kind of a medium priority, and it's in the prospect stage. And I'm going to put, 3 days for that to be done. Because in that first 2 days, we're meeting with the seller, we're getting their repair list, we're getting them, depersonalizing their property. And then, on the back side, the administrative side, we're getting this marketing portal set up, okay? So under the description, I'm going to put admin task. So we know it's an administrative task. Okay, create seller portal in MLS to keep eye on market activity, okay? So you don't forget what that is.
A mile radius, a half a mile radius?
I probably do about a mile.
Okay.
Because again, I'm thinking, and only because I've had this come up in the past several times, sellers are on their way home from work and they say, hey, I was pulling off of, Cincinnati Dayton Road and there's a, Sipsy Klein sign. What's that house going for? So it does not matter bedrooms. We're not looking at comparables. We're looking at the market, what's coming on the market. Okay. So it's an administrative task that we create a seller portal in the MLS to keep an eye on the market activity. Okay. We're going to add tasks there. So those are probably the two biggest pre-listing tasks you need to tackle, okay? The third one would be to put the client in booj contacts and create the deal. So again, that's another one, but we're going to say seller into booj. That's a medium priority because certain things have to happen for you to get there. It's in the prospect stage, but I'm going to say we'll do that within the 2 days as well. And that's going to be an admin task. Create seller contact in booj and set up deal. Okay.
Okay. Maybe this is a dumb question, but if you're to the point where you're adding tasks, would you not have already put them into booj?
Maybe not. I can't tell you how many times I pull up listings of other agents I support. I'm like, is your seller in booj? You're like, oh no, I didn't put them in there yet.
Okay. All right.
So it definitely needs to be on the to-do list. And not that we all like to-do lists, but it definitely will help you keep you focused and help you remember that you're getting the things done that need to be done. So you're not dropping balls, or letting fall things through the crack. So create the seller contact in booj and set up the deal. And we'll add the task. And those are all kind of pre-listing before we're in the MLS, okay? The next phase down is when the listing becomes active and the deal becomes active. So we're going to create another task for that phase. And the first task we're going to say is launch listing. And this is going to be a collective number of steps that you have to do when you're launching the listing, okay? So I'm titling it launch listing. This is going to be a high priority in the active status, and I'm going to keep the days due at 0 because this all needs to be done when you're launching the listing, okay? So number 1 would be MLS, okay? Number 2 would be Design Center. Number 3 would be booj. Listings, put listings after the booj word. Number 4 would be Remax Hustle. Number 5 would be social media postings. And those are 5 collective steps, and we'll break them down a little further. But those are the 5 biggest things that need to happen as soon as you get an active listing. You get it into the MLS, you pull the marketing out of Design Center, you get the listing into booj so that you can tweak all of that information in there. You jump onto Remax Hustle, and I said hustler, Remax Hustle. You create your listing video, and then you have everything collectively together to post out onto your social media postings. Okay. And that's all on day 0 of a listing going active. All right. And remember, a lot of that's already done for you already through Remax. Design Center automatically creates that marketing package. The Remax Hustle is there for you to create your listing video, and everything will post to social media if you have your profile set up right. So even though it's day 0 and it's crunch time, this can be done in a matter of, half an hour. So we'll add that task there. Another task, and I didn't save my task. I didn't see it appear on there. That wasn't very fun. Well, I got to retype that because it didn't save it.
Oh, shoot.
That's all right. I got it. Active status, 0 days, 1 MLS, 2 Design Center, 3 booj listings, 4 Remax Hustle. I did it again. I can't even spell. Yeah, that was right. And 5 would be social media. All right, let's make sure it saves that one. There we go. And it's in there twice. Now it popped up twice. That's all right. Let me delete the one off there. Okay. A next task, once we've got it launched, we're going to do prospecting. This is a medium priority. It's in the active stage, and I would say within 1 day. So days until due, 1 day. And we're going to search, reverse prospect in MLS. And we're also going to do the showing time listing alert. This is, not everyone knows about this, or they certainly don't utilize it. In showing time, you have the ability to announce your listing, and it will go out to people who have shown houses in the same area in the same price range. And it says, hey, you might be interested in those, or you recently showed, a house in Butler County for $200,000. You might be interested in this. So those are the 2 prospecting tools that you can use: that reverse prospecting in MLS and the showing time listing alert. Okay.
I have gotten those showing time listings alerts. I didn't know how people did it, but what is the reverse prospecting? I've never done that before.
That's in the MLS, and it's under contacts. If you click on the MLS and you click on contacts, or you sign into MLS, you click on contacts, you'll see at the very bottom the option of reverse prospecting. And what that does, because MLS actually captures every search every agent puts in there, it saves it, okay, whether the agent realizes it or not. So when you do a reverse prospecting, it's going to show you every single agent that created a search that your house would have shown up in. It's a great tool if you're not getting showings, but it's an even more powerful tool to say to a seller, hey, I know 30 agents right now searching the MLS that should be seeing your house. And you can take that list and do what you'd like with it. There is a category in the MLS, reverse prospecting, that the agents might opt out of receiving notifications. That truly is from within MLS. So you could take that and reach out to them individually. Always give them the option to opt out of receiving emails from you, but you absolutely can use that information. Okay.
So can you reach them through the MLS, or do you have to do it on your phone?
You have to do it outside of the MLS.
Outside of the MLS. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it will tell you who the agent was, what criteria they had plugged in, so that you'll see that your house really should have shown up in there. Okay, so those are 2 huge prospecting tools: is that reverse prospecting in MLS and the showing time listing alert. Okay, we're going to add that task. So we've got our listing live in the MLS. We've got all of our marketing, created and on hand. We're going to start our prospecting. Actually, when that listing, when you put it in the MLS, it should say showing time as well, because we go kind of hand in hand. So I'm going to edit that and put MLS/showing time. All right. One small edit there. And again, I'm trying to keep these tasks kind of, small in numbers, baby steps. Okay. So, and it certainly will keep you might do something in the reverse prospecting that leads you to think of something else. So, you might find something and that leads you to do something else for that listing. So build off of that easily. I'm sorry. They're all home from school. You have to be quiet. All right, so we've got it launched. We've got the marketing going. We're doing some prospecting. In that time frame, the house is going to be shown. The only thing that you should be doing other than that as a listing agent is creating or getting the feedback to the seller. So we're going to title this communication. Emily, please. Communication, that's definitely a high priority in the active stage. And that's going to be, I'm going to put that to a day one, because let's get some showings in the books, and then otherwise we don't really have too much to tell the seller. But this is communicating with seller, showing feedback, recent market updates, even though they're getting them, market updates, and next steps. And when I say next steps, because they're going to ask you, when you tell them all this, you're going to say, we're getting really good feedback. I don't see any offers coming in yet. There's been 2 other new listings that came on right around the same price, but they're smaller square footage. I mean, when you're communicating all this to your seller, the next step for them is going to be to ask you, well, what do we do now? So be kind of prepared to tell them ahead of time. Well, we're only on the market for a day and a half. I'm going to let this ride out for another 2 days, and we'll be by the weekend. Maybe we should think about an open house. Okay. So that would be the next steps. Be able to have an answer to give to your seller when they say, well, what now then? Okay.
Sure.
So we'll add task plan there. And that's really the biggest priorities when it comes to an active listing, because until you get an offer, there's not too much more you can do. I don't want to put a task in here that says talk about price reductions, because again, this is on the first 3 days of a listing, and you're going to talk about that in your next steps anyway, especially if you aren't getting any showings, but you see 2 houses come on the same price range. Maybe reach out to those agents and say, do you have any showings yet? I mean, believe it or not, there are agents that, will cooperate with you. Like they all want to get their property sold. So
yeah, I miss the really chatty ones. Yeah.
Yes. So don't hesitate to call that listing agent that's around the corner. They're your competition, but guess what? If you guys can get a lot of people in, chances are they're going to be buy one of the houses. So work with them to get people in there. Yeah. All right. So now we've got I'm sorry.
In that vein, and I don't know that we necessarily need to do that in this market, but this is the only market I know right now. Would you work with an agent to say, okay, I'm going to do a showing from 1 to 3. Or an open house? What if you do an open house from 1 to 3, and we can get more people moving at the same time?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, I've reached out to agents and said, hey, I just listed, the house around the corner. I see that you've got, open house posted. I'm going to go ahead and hold mine open that too. And I'll be sure to send anybody your way. Offer to help them. It sounds as, as eerie as that might sound, but offer to help them. Okay. Okay. Or if you're going to have the open house, call them and say, hey, I'm going to have my house open. Why don't you do that too? And see if we can, because you don't know what avenues they're using. They could be advertising a little differently, or paying for maybe some more advertising, boosting it on Facebook. People are going to drive down. They're going to see those other signs up. So,
sure. Gotcha.
All right. So we've got an offer coming in now. So now we're pending. So let's add our task here. And what's the first step in pending? Signature. So let's just call this documents. We got to get everything signed. Time is of the essence. So that is a high priority. And it's in the pending stage, and it's going to be day 0. And when I say documents, I mean listing contract, purchase offer, disclosures. What else might they say? Any addendums that come through it, especially if you got an escalation addendum, if you're in multiple offers. Okay. And then I would add in here one final step is rejections. And the reason being is there's a very small overlooked rule in the contract that it does have action by seller in that last block. And it is 3 blocks that either accept it as written, they counter back, or they reject it. If you're in a multiple offer situation and you get that nice email from the agent says, I'm sorry, we really appreciate your offer, but the sellers decided to accept another offer. Your response should be, please send me the rejection. That ensures that your contract was presented to the seller because they're going to have to sign off on it. Okay. And agents might push back and say, I'm telling you it's rejected. Well, that's nice, but the contract has that paragraph there for a reason. I need the action by seller completed.
Okay.
So be sure to include, and if you're the listing agent, do that. Tell your seller, look, we had 7 offers and when we only took 1, we're going to have to sign the rejection on these other 6.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It is a contract clause.
Use those. I have never gotten them.
I always ask for them. And it was because I had a buyer say to me one time, how do I even know the seller saw my offer? I mean, she was just floored. And I said, because they have to sign off on it. Let me get that for you.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Absolutely. So in the documents, we want to make sure we get the purchase offer signed. We want to make sure we got all of our disclosures signed, any addendums that are going to come into play, and any rejections sent back. Okay. So that's that task on day 0. First day you get an offer. Maybe I have to wait a second for it to show because I'm going to go ahead and type this again and it's not going to be there. So.
Try refreshing. No.
Nope.
That's all I got.
It's all right. Well, here it comes. I think everybody's like home today on the snow day. So everyone's online and
Yeah, I have mine open, but I'm not in it, so I should probably minimize mine. Maybe that'll speed you up.
Yeah, and I have Carrie's in the waiting room. There we go. Sorry about that. Hey, Carrie. Sorry about that. I didn't see you come through. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, we're actually creating our own task plans here, and I'm working on. Where did it go?
That's weird.
Let's go back a second. There we go, Lee's task plan, and it's still in editing mode. There we go. Come on, I better pull mine up. There we go. It's coming, just a second. There we go, perfect. So there's a prospecting, the active ones, and then the pending, and it did show up in on there. So the next text that we would have when the property goes pending after the documents would be the marketing update. That's going to be a medium priority in the pending stage, and I'd say within 1 day of going pending. And you're going to design. We're going to have 3 steps here. We're going to have Design Center because Design Center creates a marketing for pending properties. Okay, we're going to go into booj into the listings, and then of course onto social media. So in the marketing update for pending property, we jump onto Design Center, we pull off that pending package that it creates for us. We go into our booj listings and be sure that's updated, that the MLS is fed through, that it's pending, and we launch that all out onto our social media. Okay. And then what's another task that we're going to do when a property is pending? Well, of course, it's going through the stages of the contract. So next, we're going to say contract contingencies is our next step. That, of course, is a high priority, pending, and I'm going to put in, we're going to make this actually 3 tasks, okay? So contract contingencies 1 is the first one, and we're going to have that within, I'm going to say 3 days due. And by that time, you should have pre-approval letter number 1. Number 2 would be earnest money. Because if you look at a purchase contract, those are the first 2 things that are generally within the first couple of days of the pending that they have to get it to you. So the title of this task is Contract Contingencies 1, high priority, and it's done in the first 3 days. So we're going to add that task. And then we're going to go ahead and create another task. Did not keep my marketing update, and this is contract contingencies 2. That's another high priority. And I'm going to put this out 7 days. Even if they have an inspection period in there that talks about, 10 days, chances are they're having it done in less than 10 days because they want to get that to you. So I would just say inspection plan. So let's be sure the inspection's been booked. You know who the inspector is, and that's coming through. Okay. We'll ask that task plan. Are we all getting alerts again?
Yeah, it won't clear. There we go.
That's all right. All right. Another task plan. This is contingencies 3, and this can be the last one here. So contingencies 3. That's a high priority. Something's going on in Columbus. You would think the bad guys would take a break on a snow day, right? So, all right, on this days due here, I am going to put this out to be 12 days. The reason being is, again, inspection should be done. We should have our post-inspection settlement. So we're going to say inspection repairs, so we know what they are. And I'm going to put appraisal, because at this time, the appraisal better be on the books, okay? We'll add the task plan there. I'm sure mine are going to show up here in just a few minutes. All right, so once we've gotten through those contingencies, we're on the path to closing at this point. So on this task, I'm going to say loose ends. This is a medium priority, and I'm going to put this out at day 20. The reason being is we should be through inspections, we should be through appraisal, we're coming around, third base and heading for home, okay? So the loose ends, I'm going to say repair receipts. Loan commitment. And even if you don't have it yet, at least you're going to know where it's in the works. The lender is going to say to you, I'm waiting on that appraisal, or I have a, conditional approval. Okay. So by that 20th day, you should definitely have your receipts for the repairs that the seller's working on, or knowing that they're coming to you, and the loan commitment. Okay. Or at least where the status of that loan commitment. Right. And then I would go ahead and add in here too, title questionnaire. This is going to come to you, and if you don't have it within about 10 days of closing, it's going to be really tight for that title company to get your seller's payoff. And a lot of times, or every time, the seller authorization has to be signed in ink. So trying to get a seller to print that off, sign it, either scan it back to you, take a picture with their phone, however they can do it, it can take an extra day or 2. So make sure you've got that title questionnaire. Were you going to say something more?
Yeah, I have a question, because I'm getting ready to send one to a buyer to fill out. They can't e-sign it. They have to print it out, fill it out.
The buyers can. The seller authorization to obtain the payoff has to be in ink.
Okay.
It can't be e-signed. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but anything that the buyer would need to fill out, I'm sure would be okay with the title company to be e-signature. There's not too much, unless maybe it was the only thing I've had a buyer had to complete for a title company was an addendum when they were splitting proceeds with a spouse.
Okay, this was just the blanket form, the
yeah, then that should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine.
All right.
Yeah, a seller authorization will always have to be in ink.
Gotcha.
And that's a lender requirement. So
okay. Most of the time, my lenders took care of that, or the title company contacted my seller.
You can, but generally when they send you the questionnaire, they send the authorization along with it. And just because I want to keep that relationship with the seller, I'm the one to take it to them and say, hey, the title company needs this completed. Let me know if you need me to bring it to you, because you can't print it out, or if you can, sign it and take a picture with your cell phone and send it back to me. I can convert it and send it to the title company.
Okay.
So you just want to be able to keep that kind of personal touch with the seller, so they don't think you're completely hands off on everything.
Sure.
And we'll add that task down there. I'm going to flip through my menu, see if my task plans show up better now. No, it doesn't have those last 2 in there. Oh, there it is. They just popped up. Yay. Okay. All right, so after day 20, in the pending status, after the loose ends, we're gonna say closing time. And that, of course, is a high priority. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that at 28 days. And the reason being is if this is a 30-day closing, which most commonly they are, and you can change this out, you know, by deal, you can always edit your task plan if it's gonna be a 45-day and drop this down. On that day 28, you definitely should be having the final walkthrough and utility turnover. Emily, can you call Brittany really quick? So again, final walkthrough and utility turnover, very important. Okay. That gives them enough time to call a utility company and say, hey, we're going to be, you know, closing on our house. I actually tell sellers to set it up for the day after closing, because if you close at 5 o'clock at night, no, Duke's not going to come out and read the meter. You know, the water company's not going to come out. And the water company also won't turn on new service without a copy of the closing statement. So it's a good advice to tell the sellers to schedule it for the day after closing. For one, utility companies aren't going to be out there that fast. And two, the buyer is going to need a signed disclosure that they now own the property. Okay. So final walkthrough and utility turnover is on that day 28 or at least 2 days before the closing. Okay. We'll add the task there. So that's it. Everybody knows where to be when. Everyone's ready for the closing. Once you're closed, we've got 2 more simple tasks we're going to add in here. So in the close column or close phase, we're going to create the task that says, congrats. That's what we're going to title this task. And we're going to consider it a medium priority. And it's going to be within 1 day of closing. Okay. And what that needs to happen in this task is that you need to send congrats email to seller. And this can be either one of the campaigns that are in booj or just a personal note to say, hey, how did it go? You know, how are you guys feeling now that all of that rush is over? But send the congrats email to the seller and change status in booj contact. Because now they're a past client. They're not a seller anymore. They're a past client. They're going to be your next referral. Okay. So you definitely want to send the congrats email to the seller, change the status in the booj contact, not contract, sorry. And then we're going to add another task. And this is going to say referral request. This is kind of a low priority, but it's going to be in about, I'm going to say 10 days after closing. And what that's going to be is set up touch campaign. And this is coming. It's not completely finalized in booj yet, but you can certainly launch it individually. But you want to go back in there and you want to be able to touch them either with your next newsletter or with and there are follow-up templates for sellers in there that talks about how they're moving on to the next step. Okay. But within about 10 days after closing, when all the clouds have cleared, the dust has settled, you want to make sure that you've got that touch campaign set up for your sellers, okay? Because they're going to be your next referral. All right. All right. Any questions on that? Laura, you're muted. Sorry. You're
sorry, I was talking and I was muted. I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yes.
So each one of those days that you set, it's not a date, obviously. It knows like 28 days after. How does it know 10 days after?
When you create a deal, okay, because this is where this task plan comes into play. When you create a deal, you're going to put in that listing date, which triggers all of those before closing timelines. And then when you get a pending contract on it, you put in that closing date and that triggers the rest of them.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right, so yeah, it's all going to be triggered by the dates that you put in. So now, and I'm going to, in our last step here, I'm going to show you how you apply this, okay? Because when you go into your deals, oops, well, I better not have. All right, let's make sure it saved it. Yep, 11, personal, great. In the deals tab here, if you're going to create your new deal because you got your seller, okay, you're going to put in your new deal here. So I'm going to say new listing. It's a list side. It's in the prospect stage. Maybe it's a $200,000 listing. My commission is going to be 3%. It's getting listed today. We hope to have it sold and closed. And this is the expectation. Okay, I'm going to say April 1st. All right. It's going to want your contact in here. Pull up a contact here that I can use. Someone who knows I'm just kidding in case anything goes out to them. There we go. All right, no other contacts here. I'm going to hit add deal. This is actually going to open up the deal page, and it's going to ask me if I want to create the task plan. So I'm going to click on the deal now itself. Come on. There it goes. It pulls up the dashboard of the deal that I just inputted all the information in for. And right down here at the bottom is where I can either add an event, add a task, or apply a task plan. I'm going to apply task plan. And I've got Lee's listing task plan right here. When I hit apply task plan, all of those tasks are going to populate based off that first stage. It really will. So, come on. This is where you're initiating it though. So once you've got it, you enter the deal into there and you choose apply task plan, and it'll populate all of that into there. And it just seems to be taking a few minutes today. And we're going to cover contacts and deals next week. So we'll see this pop up again. But I wanted to show you today definitely how to get those task plans set up, where they're at. Again, I went into my profile, I clicked on setting pages, I clicked on task. That's going to show you everything that's already in the system, and then you can create your own. Okay. So you can make this as customized as you want.
So it's a lot to set up on the initial, but you can use it for every single
over and over and over. Yeah.
Okay. Because that was a lot of work on the front end to make it easy. Okay.
Exactly. And you can pull one of the ones they have in here, you know, the buyer close or the new lead, and edit those steps in there. But I was getting, in the last time I did this class, people looked at that and says, well, those aren't any of the steps I do. So I thought, you know what, this time we're going to start from scratch and make it our own. Okay. And you can actually, when I pull up my task right here, you can create a copy of it. And you can actually send it. So I could send this to you now like this, and you'll get it. Come on. I don't know why I didn't pull you up, Laura.
Booj doesn't like me.
I wish I would have known that yesterday.
Oh, oh, it was just search. It was coming back up now. Because last year I was actually a guest speaker for a broker out of Canada on task plans, and I received several requests saying, hey, can you send me your task plan? Can you send me your task plan? I thought, how the heck am I going to do that? But I found it under actions. It's still not pulling you up. I did see the list just flash when I went to go back. And anyways, all I had to do is plug in their name, and it pulled them up, and I just hit send. So I will try that again later. Like I said, Booj seems to be a little slow today. But look at this. We got all of our, basic steps down. Like I said, Carrie, earlier before you jumped on, as you're going through one step, it might go ahead and actually create what you need to do, the next step. Or if you run into something in that step, you got to say, oh, I got to go back and fix this. So they could build off of each other, and that's the plan. All right. All right. Any other questions? Or that's going to be it for today. And Thursday, I'm doing momentum, and we're going to do marketing. All right. All right. Thanks, ladies. I'll send you a recording of this and anything I referenced. Okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.